Hi. This instructional video is all about money. Actually, it's a continuation on the percents. But this time, we're going to talk about simple interest. In fact, it does deal with money. It's all about money. Before we get this started, let me first introduce you to an equation. Some people call it the formula. It's a simple interest formula. And it is defined as I equals P times R times T. Sometimes students get nervous during the test, so I give them a little way of memorizing this thing. And I said, oops, sorry, I perked. I perked. I is the interest that you get by putting the money in the bank for a certain number of time. The P is the principal. Principal is the money that you deposit, the initial amount. The R is the rate. It's the percent of interest that either the bank pays you if you put the money in the bank, or that you pay the bank if you borrow money from the bank. And of course, the T is the time. Usually in a 1-year increments, but we could break it down as 12 months. So there it is. I perked. I equals PRT. And this is the formula that we're going to use to determine the simple interest, the total amount that you will have in the bank, or the total amount you will have paid with interest, and we could find the actual interest rate. Let's get this started right away. I perked. Oops, I perked. Here we go. So in this case, let's find a simple interest. How much money will you get if you put in $205 with the interest rate of 6.14% and you put it in for less than a year, 9 months that is. So I equals PRT. We're going to find the I by principal. The amount you put in is $205. The rate is 6.25, 1/4. So isn't that 6.25%? And we just learned about this in the last instructional video. To make the percent to decimal, we go away from the percent 2 spaces. So in fact, we're going to multiply 0.0625 for 9 months. And 9 months is, well, 9 over 12. Because there's 12 months in a year. And we can only put it in for 9 months. But we could reduce that. Common factor is 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. And 3 times 4 is 12. And isn't that like saying 3/4? And isn't 3/4 like saying 75 cents? In this case, I want decimal numbers. Because when we talk about money, you don't want to do this in your head or on a scratch paper. You need... That's right, boy. We need a calculator. You don't want to mess around making mistakes with numbers when we're dealing with money. Now, let's power this up. And we go $205 times 0.0625, 0.0625, that's 6.25%, times 0.75. Okay, 3/4 of a year. And if I enter, whoop-de-doo. The interest the bank will pay me after 9 months is $9.609, so let's round it up to 61 cents. That's a big return on investment. Yeah. Why don't you try number 2? That sounds more significant, doesn't it? Right here. So you said we're going to look for the interest. So I equals PRT. And the principal is $4,000. Now that's better. Now that's some serious money right there. And the rate is 13.5%. But remember, we have to make it into decimal. So away from the percent, 2 places. So we get 0.135. And 21 month, that's 21 over 12 month in a year. We could reduce that. Common factor again is 3. 3 times 7 and 3 times 4. Now check this one out. I am going to use a fraction form, 7 over 4. And the reason is, I could simplify. The denominator 4 goes into 4,000 1,000 times. Now I could use a calculator and just multiply 1,000, 0.135, and 7, but I want to go ahead and simplify as far as I can, because I know 1,000 with 3 zeros means move the decimal to the right 3 places, so I end up with 135 times the 7. And I could actually do that on a scratch paper, but let's make our life easier. 135 times 7. You should have said you get, after 21 months, if you put in $4,000 at 13.5%, you will get back $945. Now, if you find a bank with that interest, you call me. I want to go there and put my money in there. That's an awesome, awesome return on investment. So now, we come to the second part of this. This time we're going to find the total amount. We know how to find the interest. So after a certain time, how much will you actually have in the bank account? Same thing. I equals PRT. Principal in this example is a measly $235. That's nothing to laugh at, but compared to that 4,000, whew, that's like a little peanut. Now 5.25%, you have to make it into a decimal number, move it away from the percent, 2 spaces, so you get 0.0525. And 14 month is like saying 14 over 12 months in a year. Reduce that by common factor of 2 this time. 2 times 7 is 14, 2 times 6 is 12. And you know what? I should change that. Top number goes inside from my last video. So 7 goes inside, 6 is outside. This is gonna come out nasty, isn't it? 6 goes into 7 one time, 1 0. 6 goes into 10 one time, 0.1. Uh-oh, then it's gonna repeat. 1.166666 like that. You know what? Let's keep the fraction form and let's see what the calculator gives us. 7 over 6 and multiply it. We have the calculator, let's use it. So, we have 235 times 0.0525 times 7 only, and I'm going to say equals 86.3625. Now I'm going to divide that by 6. Divide that answer by 6. And it gives me, you thought you were getting $86, huh? No, no, no. You're only getting $14.39. So $14.39. But that's not the answer we're looking for. We want the total amount. To figure that, we had to go back to our beginning balance, which was $235. Now we're going to add to that our interest rate after 14 months. After over a year, they give you $14 in interest. So you add those two amounts together. Since we have a calculator open already, let's go ahead and add that to it. Plus 235. Our bank balance is going to be $249.39. Now that is our total amount after 14 months. Okay? This time you try this one. Okay, now that's a heftier change, isn't it? So I equals PRT. Again, principal this time is 1860. 7.5, that's like saying 7.5%. Make it into decimal by moving it away from the percent, 2 spaces. So we got 0.075. And that's after 5 years. Now, can I just multiply a 5 here? Yes, you can. That's how it works. So now we have 1860. Here, let me put the calculator up so it's visible. Times 0.075 times 5 years long. Woo! That's like throughout your high school. Held back 1 extra year. We don't want that. Then your balance after 5 years will be $697.50. Now that's good. So you're gonna get an interest of $697.50 for 50 cents. So add that interest with your original balance of 1860 or original principal. Sorry about the interruption. It seems the camera stopped by itself because it got overheated. So let me continue on with this guy. So it turns out the interest is $697.50. So what do you do with that interest that you've earned after 5 years? Well, you add it together with the original principal to get the current total amount. So that was 1860 plus the $697.50. We need to line up the decimal point. So we get 50 and 7, 5. Here we have carried the 1, so 5 and 2. So the total bank balance after 5 years is going to be $25.57 and 50 cents. And we already had that. I went on even though the computer or the camera shut off by itself. So I'm tracking back. So let me continue on here, at least somewhat halfway, and then we'll resume back to the original. So over here, it says, find the annual rate this time, and what's given to us is the principal, the total amount after 3 years. So we try to find the rate, the percent that is. To find that, we're still going to use the I equals PRT. I equals PERT. Now, the principal, initially it was $4,000. Times the rate, which we do not know. And for how long? Well, for 3 years. Now, what do we put for I? No, you wish you could put 59.20, but no, that's the total bank balance after 3 years. So to find the interest that was paid to you, we have to subtract 59.20 minus the initial deposit, the principal that is. And it turns out what they paid you was $1,920. That's a good amount of money. So that's where 1920 goes. Now we're going to solve for R by multiplying the 3 and the 4,000. So that's 3 times 4, which is 12, with 3 zeros. R. And that equals what's on the left side, which was the interest at 1920. Now to solve for R, we're going to divide both sides by 12000. 12000. So that 12,000 cancels from the right side, so R is equal to, well, .16. And to make that into a percent, we have to go boing boing to make it into a percent. So the rate is 16%. That's a nice rate. So let's resume back to the original video. And now the principal is $3,200. R is what we do not know, the rate. We're looking for the annual rate. And the time is 18 months. So since they're giving us in month, we're going to write that in a fraction form, 18 over 1 year, which is 12 months. And we're going to reduce that, okay? And what goes on the interest? Well, that's not the interest. That is the interest plus the original principal. So we have to subtract to find the interest that the bank is giving you. So it turns out in this case is $432. That's not bad. For a year and a half, they give you $432. That's good. Now, let's solve this. But first, let's go ahead and reduce 18 over 12. They're divisible by 6. And so 18 over 12 actually is, let me rewrite this so there's no confusion, 3 over 2. And I could simplify the 2 into 3200 by 1600. And I could do this in my head. And 3 times 1600 is 8400R equals 432. Now to solve for R, divide 4800 to both sides of the equation. So the 4800 cancels. R equals 432 divided by 4800. That's going to be 0.09. And now to make that into a percent, we're going to move it 2 to the right. So R, the rate, equals 9%. That is still double what the banks are paying nowadays. At least the double compared to what the banks are paying these days for interest rate. There it is.